before Mary Shelley could write her masterwork of terror, Frankenstein, she had to experience it.
I have it in mind to raise the dead. Hurry.
Yes, the skull of the Black Monk. His appearance was said to herald disaster. Gaze into the eyes. Conjure up your deepest, darkest fear. Call that fear to form, to life.
It's the devil. Show them your clothes and hook.
It's alive!
No good. You can't run away from your own fears.
We can't get rid of the horror. We create more monsters.
It is an age of dreams and nightmares.
It's shown me the torture it has in store for us. Our creature. It will be there waiting in the shadows until it has seen us to our death.
In one night, two legends were born.
The following is a paid advertisement. Really? A paid advertisement? Wait, the B-Movie Cast got paid? Yes, the following is a paid advertisement. This episode of the B-Movie Cast is brought to you by the estate planning services of Twyla Minear Brooks, attorney at law. Remember, when the zombie apocalypse comes, things will move pretty fast.
The body should be disposed of at once, preferably by cremation.
Well, how long after death, then, does the body become reactivated?
It's only a matter of minutes.
Minutes? Well, that doesn't give people time to make any arrangements.
Oh, you're right. It doesn't give them time to make funeral arrangements. The bodies must be carried to the street and burned. They must be burned immediately. Soak them with gasoline and burn them. The bereaved will have to forego the dubious comforts that a funeral service will give. They're just dead flesh and dangerous.
So don't leave your estate planning needs until the last minute, because you don't know when that last minute could come. Call Twyla Minear Brooks, attorney at law, at 859-351-2294. That's 859-351-2294. Remember, when you go, you don't want people saying,
"Yeah, they're dead. They're all messed up."
Twyla Minear Brooks, attorney at law, is licensed for practice in the state of Kentucky. Consult your local attorney for matters outside of the state of Kentucky.
Command mark. The time will be running at X-minus 20 seconds. Mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fire.
Spawned by the continuing decline and fall of society as we know it, and created on the second-floor spare-bedroom studio in the Piedmont of South Carolina. Podcasting on a shoestring budget and changing the world one freak at a time. It's the B-Movie Cast with your host, Vince Rotolo.
From coast to coast and worldwide via the internet, this is the B-Movie Cast, the podcast of unusual film and television.
So, on with the show. This is episode 493 of the B-Movie Cast, and this is the third movie in our countdown to B-Movie Cast episode 500 series. Before I go any farther, I want to get our contact information out of the way. We love hearing from all of you. So we have a feedback segment devoted to your comments and suggestions, and this is how you can contact us. Option 1, pick up your phone and dial 888-936-0808. This is a toll-free number and a very easy way to leave a voice message. Option 2, you can make your own MP3 file and send it in to bmoviecast@gmail.com. Or use your smartphone voice software and record a call, then just send that in as an attachment instead. Or option 3, if you're not into talking, you can just shoot us an email to bmoviecast@gmail.com. Our website is bmoviecast.com, where you can subscribe to the podcast. It's free, and there you can join us on the Facebook B-Moviecast fan page and letterbox. Also, you can play the contest by sending in your answer by email to bmoviecast@gmail.com with contest in the subject line. And check out the links while you're there, or buy a t-shirt. I currently have smalls to 4Xs. If you want to help us financially, there's a donation box you can click on as a supporter on the Lugosi, Karloff, Agar, and the infamous Xanadu level through PayPal. Also, the easiest way to donate is to click on the Amazon bar on the right side of our homepage. This Amazon link will take you to Amazon.com to make your purchase. It doesn't cost you anything, and you can still log into your personal accounts when you get there. It's completely private, so think about us before you buy online. So now, through the miracle of modern technology and thousands of miles of wires, server farms, PCs, Macs, the internet, and duct tape, we have our co-host from Lexington, Kentucky, author, editor, screenwriter, film producer, Nick Brown. He has a new website. It is authornickbrown.com. That's AUTHORNICBROWN.com. He is the author of the Werewolf for Hire book series, starting with Blood Curse. He's also selling a book in collaboration with his wife, Fiona, the B-Movie Cookbook. All of these are available on Amazon. He's produced 2 movies, Wretch and Loss Prevention. Both can be ordered on Blu-rays or DVDs through Amazon. He is also the producer of a 3rd film, the soon-to-be-released Fall of Usher. Also joining us for this cast is the one and only Brian Cunningham, owner of Thoughtfly Studios, along with his partner Matt Niehoff. Thoughtfly is a full-service film and commercial production house in Louisville. He is a very talented writer, producer, and director. His first feature film was Overtime in 2011. Then he did a documentary called Monsters Wanted in 2013. That we did a podcast on, and he now has 3 feature films, Loss Prevention, Wretch, and The Fall of Usher. We're trying to pick examples from the wide range and the eras of film that we've covered over the years. But that freaking repeating theme has popped up again that happened last podcast.
What theme, Mary?
Guys, I'm I'm maxed out on naked women. Seriously. Okay.
Well, there was naked dudes in this too.
There was as much naked guys in this as naked women.
That's true. Okay.
You know, it was an equal opportunity.
I'm just having a little bit of nudity overload lately with these movies. So.
Well, and to be fair, Mary,
Mary hates nipples. Everyone write her mean letters for hating nipples for some reason.
Mary, everybody's naked sometimes.
Yes, I know.
I try to avoid it as much as possible, but even I can't help it.
There's, some people shouldn't be seen naked.
Oh.
No, not you guys. No.
Are you saying Julian
in this
Sands?
movie.
Because Julian Sands is a beautiful, beautiful man.
I meant
so.
Okay.
Oh, you meant Nick. Oh, no. Yeah, Nick. No one should see Nick.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for that. I'll be over here crying, wearing as many clothes as I can put on.
Turn the air conditioning up.
Turn the AC up, put on another layer, and weep and cry my sweet tears of not being naked.
Just stab your hand into a nail on the wall and cry.
Oof.
Remember when
that's
that
what
happened?
I'm going to do. And then I'm going to serve a big old plate of fried rice with leech cheese.
Stop.
Would you like leech fried rice?
Hey, it's the special this week at Golden Corral.
Just bringing back all these horrible memories in this movie.
This episode's going to be off the rails. I can already tell. Isn't there a format? Aren't we supposed to do something?
Okay, wait.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there is a format. So, the movie this week is Gothic. It's called Gothic.
We didn't even tell them what movie we were doing. We just started talking about Legions of Julian Sands.
We've definitely whetted their appetite. I can say that.
Okay, it's Gothic from 1986. This is a Brian pick.
No, kind of. Kind of. I said, we were sitting on the couch, and Nick was there, and I said, he said, you want to do the podcast? Apparently you're next up to do the podcast. I was like, sure. And I said, let's do Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. And he was like, okay. And then he was typing an email back to Mary, and I could see his gears turning in his head. And then he looked at me and went, do you want to do Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, or do you want to do Gothic?
Nick!
And I said, Gothic's fine.
Nick!
And then I said, do you think Mary's going to like Gothic?
And I said...
I don't remember exactly what you said.
I said no.
No. You said no, but you also said but it's it's about Mary Shelley and Frankenstein, so it fits in. It's great.
Sure.
It's great. Everyone's going to love this. and then but I'm thinking I love this movie, but this is a really, really weird movie.
Yes.
And then Nick messages me yesterday going, I forgot how weird Gothic was. So it's actually Nick's fault.
Okay.
This is the thing. I like some of Ken Russell's movies.
Mm-hmm.
And
I like this movie. I
like this movie.
I love this movie.
I think it's fascinating.
Okay, fascinating is a good word for it.
Well, it's a fascinating look because it's a nonsensical look at what happens when you spend the weekend, just having a whole lot of drugs in a giant mansion with a bunch of bohemian types at the turn of the 19th century.
Yes.
This is Lord Byron and Mary Goodwin, soon to be Mary Shelley, and just those two. And it's funny because those two names are the ones that really stick out historically to me, but,
Percy Shelley was much more famous than Mary until years after Frankenstein, I think.
But she's the one that made him really famous. She's the one that kept pushing. Getting all his stuff published, and even after he died, she kept pushing to get his name out there. And
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and but it's funny because up until a certain period, she really wasn't even recognized as having written Frankenstein.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
if I remember right, even the credits to Frankenstein, the film, don't credit Mary Shelley.
Yeah, it was
really
her husband.
Yeah.
So when it was first published, was it published as a Percy Shelley book?
I think it was first published under his name.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that's awful.
Yeah, well, it's awful, but think about the time. She basically invented
science fiction.
Yeah.
And got no credit for it.
Well, she gets the credit for it now. And
she did then, too, later.
Yeah. Later.
Yeah. But she was the only one that actually survived till later out of the whole group.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it is funny because all of the male, I started saying the male characters, all of the historical, that's the thing. This movie is interesting on another level because everybody in it really lived.
Mm-hmm.
And some of this stuff really happened.
Yeah.
Now, I can't imagine that the wild, crazy, fish-eyed, breasts with eyes thing that happened in Ken Russell's mind is what actually happened, but we don't know that. And I'm going to say I could imagine it being this wild drug-induced weekend where a lot of weird stuff happened. Yeah. So,
but it was laudanum. It wasn't like acid.
Well, okay, it's laudanum, but what's in laudanum, Mary?
Heroin.
You say that so sweetly. Heroin. Yeah, it's just full of opium. It's real nice and mellow.
Yeah.
But it's not like
it's good
acid
for
or
your
anything.
nerves.
It doesn't make nipples turn into eyeballs.
I think if you do enough opium, you could see some eyeball nipples.
Probably. You're probably right on that.
Yeah.
Well, and okay, let's back up for just a second and finish actually introducing the podcast.
Okay.
Okay.
But before I did anything else, I did want to say congratulations to Mr. Brian Cunningham. Giant congratulations for winning the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival Award for Best Feature. Woo!
Yes. We did. That is very cool.
Yeah, that is.
And it's really funny because it showed in October and they didn't announce the winners until now,
crazy.
Which is March. But it's a whole thing where they had problems tallying the votes because they did it online for the first time, and then after that there were health problems with someone. So nothing. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but yay, they came out.
It's unfortunate, but at the same time, it's fantastic because we won something, and that's just super.
Yes, and I also wanted to congratulate Mr. Nick Brown for being the producer of The Fall of Usher. Woo-hoo. But that's just a small congratulations because Nick's head's already too big, people. So just do a hey. Okay.
Oh my God.
My head is too big, Mary.
Did you just hear Kitty?
I just heard Kitty.
Yes.
Okay.
That was very cute.
She had to even tell you.
Yeah. Oh, and I want to say thank you to Brian and Gwen, who are the amazing two people who run the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival and CthulhuCon. So they were awesome enough to let Nick and Riker do a Q&A at our premiere, and then they were super nice and did a Zoom Q&A with me because I was stuck at home because COVID was scary.
You didn't go.
So I didn't go.
I didn't realize that. You went to the one in Vegas?
No, I ended up. COVID was through the roof at that point, so that kind of tipped the scales. I also had some work stuff I had to take care of. So, yeah,
it was.
And
I was just glad
unreasonably brave.
So when will we all be able to buy a copy of this?
It's supposed to come out sometime this year. We have signed a distribution deal.
Oh.
So it's kind of in their hands at this point. And I think they're just trying to figure out the right time and fit it in with other movies they've got coming out. And EFN just happened and they were pitching it there and stuff. So I don't know. I don't know what's happening exactly, but I'll let you know when we know.
Yeah, everybody wants to know.
Sure.
I've been seeing a lot of buzz about it.
Oh,
people wanting to know.
Nick, we have buzz.
Yeah, buzz.
I know, we have buzz, and I'm excited because I don't usually have buzz.
You usually are buzzed, but don't have buzz. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Insert rim shot sound effect here.
So this is going to be the pick on Nick Cast. I got it. That's all right.
Well,
That's all right.
This movie, you deserve it, boy.
He picked this movie and blamed me for it.
Yeah, really.
Okay, to be honest, you said okay.
Oh, so that was me just agree. So if I agree with you on anything, then it's all my idea, and I am to be blamed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
hey,
I'm getting back to Gothic here.
Oh, we're back to Gothic,
yes,
and now back to Gothic,
and
the ABC movie of the week.
For another, what was that segue they used to use on Monty Python?
And now for something completely unrelated.
Different, yeah.
Now
Okay.
something completely different, yeah.
Now, back to Gothic. Okay, this is a fictionalized retelling of the Percy Shelley, Mary Wollstonecraft Godwin Shelley, and Mary's stepsister Claire Claremont's visit to Lord Byron. Byron had rented a Villa Diodata, on Lake Geneva in Switzerland, and he had his friend and Dr. John Polidori staying with him. And Shelley and his little crew rented a house nearby down the lake. And so on a fateful night, a dark, cold, and stormy night in 1816. This is what I can't... 1816. That's like 200 years ago. You know, it's like, wow. Anyway, 1816, both Mary's Frankenstein, or the modern Prometheus, and Diodati's vampire were both conceived.
Nice.
That's like the beginning of all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Back in 1816.
Yep.
Well, it's got to start somewhere.
Go ahead.
Nick? No, that was it. I just said it's got to start somewhere.
Oh, okay. No, sorry, I couldn't hear you. I heard somewhere, and I don't know if the story's true, but that all of them together like had a competition about who could write the scariest story.
Yeah.
And that's where that came out of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not, but
see, I've read a lot of stories about that night and about all the stuff that they did. And I think that's what really confused me with this movie, because I was kind of expecting a storyline of some sort.
You were expecting a plot?
Yeah,
of some
exactly.
Sort?
This is definitely a movie that didn't let the plot get in the way of the story. That's for sure.
Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was my problem with the movie. Yeah. So, okay, fair warning again, all you listeners. You do not want your children in the room with you when you watch this.
Or your parents.
Or your parents, true.
Probably not your pets.
Probably not friends or anything. Just, close the drapes, turn off the lights, just,
just sit in shame.
Yes.
Watch in shame and feel bad about your life choices.
Okay. Seriously. I mean, this thing it's full of rape and torture. It has a lot of nudity. Some full frontal for those of you that have a problem with that. There are implied sex acts. There are all kinds of sex acts. There's very awkward and unnerving sex scenes. There's some thoroughly disgusting character flaws in these people that all gets kind of twisted up and turned into hallucination. So
so you have no idea what's real and what actually happened. Which is what I like.
Yeah. I couldn't tell the difference between the reality scenes and the not reality scenes in this movie, and it was making me crazy.
Yeah. I think that's kind of the point, because neither could they,
Okay.
So,
yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, if they were in the throes of that, they wouldn't be able to tell the difference either. But see, I again, knowing the storyline, I don't see them as ever being that bad, that far gone. But then they might have been. Who knows? I mean, they were like the jet set that we know nowadays. They had money, they had position.
Yeah. I don't.
They were on the wave of.
Well, I mean, Lord Byron was pretty notorious, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, he was sleeping with his sister, half sister, or something. Yeah,
that's worse than anything in the movie.
Yeah. Plus, he was sleeping with this Claire Claremont.
Mm-hmm.
But then Percy Shelley was sleeping with Claire Claremont too. So.
Well, okay, guys.
Everybody
in this movie was sleeping. Everybody in this was sleeping with everybody else. Let's be clear here.
I don't know. I don't think they were doing much sleeping.
That's
I don't
true.
Either. I think the only time I saw eyes closed is when somebody finally passed out.
Yeah.
Or had a convulsion or something.
Yeah. Lots. Yeah, Claire spends a good chunk of the movie in a delirium state.
Yes.
Where she's just laughing or going crazy or eating rats.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to say something that Mary's not going to like, and maybe Nick's not.
No.
I kind of find this movie hilarious. Like, because it's not done in a realistic way. All of the things that you just mentioned are so silly that it doesn't. It feels like there's a playfulness and silliness to it that I think it's aware of.
Yeah, I read somewhere where he wanted that, he thought that way, but I didn't feel it.
Oh, okay.
I kind of wish I had felt a little bit of that instead of the shock and awe that I felt.
well, when was it made? What year is this?
It was released in 86 and shot in late 85.
Yeah, so like the tone and the feel that they're going for is totally outdated at that time. You know, it looks and feels like a late 60s, early 70s movie, you know, with the lighting effects and the way that they do everything. So I feel like there's a camp element to it that is maybe missing if you're not, you know, in that time period when it came out. You know?
Well, and I'm going to throw in that I think the actors, when Russell was directing them, he was having really go overboard in a campy way too.
Well, yeah. Anytime anyone runs in or out of that house, it's ridiculous. They might as well be throwing their hands in the air, screaming, and sometimes they are doing that.
Yeah. I mean,
Percy's
there's that
just fallen down everywhere. Like it's 1 inch from physical, you know, camp comedy. The way that they're doing it.
And yeah, it's also we did the one of Russell's later films, Lair of the White Worm, about 100 episodes ago or so. But to me, watching this film, the Lair of the White Worm was released in '88. This was '86. And I feel like this was not just a film for him, it was him writing the playbook for how he was going to do his next movie.
Yeah.
Because so many of the camera angles, the lighting, the color, everything just smacked of Lair of the White Worm. After having watched it, the first time I watched it, Gothic, I really wasn't looking at all that stuff. But this time I was paying attention to it, and I realized just how similar the two films were.
Well, that's
maybe
kind of his
maybe
style.
Not in story, but
that's his style, though, isn't it? I think of that as his style.
Well, that is his style in some ways. I think it's especially his style in his '80s work when he was doing his stuff for Vestron.
Oh, okay. I wondered if Brian picked it because Ken Russell did a film called Fall of the Louse of Usher.
I did not know that.
A Gothic tale for the 21st century in 2002.
I didn't know that, but now I have to look that up and watch it.
Well, yeah, because Ken Russell, in his later years, he kind of just flipped his nose to Hollywood and just said, I'm just going to do all these low budget weird movies. And so he did The Fall of the Louse of Usher. He did A Kitten for Hitler.
Yeah, I'd like to see that one.
Yeah. It's a short film. I have not seen it. But it is called A Kitten for Hitler, so that's both horrifying and adorable all at once.
I just want to see where it goes.
Probably to Germany.
Probably to wherever this movie went.
Well, we're still not sure where this one went, to be honest.
Somebody wrote in, or one of the critics said it's hyperbolic lunacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for the end. Like when Mary has her visions at the end, those are all prophetic visions.
Yeah.
And that's like, there's a different tone when we get to that point in the movie. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, you're right. There is a different tone, and it really feels like he's trying to set up, okay, and this is where her mind was when, she developed the idea for Frankenstein. And that's one of the things. Percy was apparently obsessed with this idea that lightning could bring things to life. And there's this great scene when they're all in one of the many parlor rooms in that mansion, and lightning strikes a tree outside, and it bursts into flames, and the shadows that are projected up onto the wall, they all see them, and it looks like this horrible monster come to life that's about to attack them. And they're all freaking out. And then they look out of the window and they see this tree burning in the wind of the storm. And they're all like, oh, my God. And the lightning, it brought this ghost of a tree to life. And, it's fascinating.
Well, he was standing on top of the roof, too, that one time.
Buck naked.
Yeah. Buck naked.
If you're going to stand on a roof, that's the way to do it.
Well, I guess. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Kudos to Julian Sands, by the way, because he probably really was up on that roof just running around naked.
Wow.
That sounds about right. And he is the actor that was born to play this role. Everything about him is perfect for this. Yeah. Such a strange actor. I like him.
I think we ought to get on with the contest first.
Oh, yeah, we had a contest.
Yes.
And what was the movie for the contest, Mary?
Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein from 1948.
Aha!
Aha. And the first movie that we're giving away is from Patrick Kelly. And it's called...
Yay!
Yay, Patrick. It is a DVD called You're a Big Boy Now. And according to Patrick, this is a 1996 screwball coming-of-age comedy. It was the second feature directed by Francis Ford Coppola. It climaxes in a mad chase scene in New York City involving a stolen Gutenberg Bible and a shaggy dog dragging an artificial leg behind him. Okay. Starring in You're a Big Boy Now are Tony Bill, Rip Torn, Geraldine Page, Karen Black in her first role, Julie Harris, Michael Dunn, who is incidentally the first little person to be nominated for an Acting Academy Award. In one segment, scenes from Dementia 13, produced by Roger Corman and directed by Francis Ford Coppola, are projected on the wall of a discotheque. The soundtrack features songs by John Sebastian and the Lovin' Spoonful. I haven't heard that in years, Lovin' Spoonful. So anyway, that's the movie. You're a Big Boy Now. And the winner is... Where's this paper? I'm confused, people. My printer died 2 days ago, and I just got ink about a half hour ago. So I have weird paperwork everywhere. Okay. Aw, Santito, you won. You're a big boy now. So congratulations.
Congratulations, Santito.
Yay. And
what's our next prize?
Second prize is a gift from Santito.
Oh.
Ooh, guaranteed to be worth more than the 2 minutes it took you to enter the contest. Guaranteed to be a DVD or Blu-ray, book and or magazine, and some knick-knack and something from south of the border, preferably legal something. Again, if you win, tell us what it is. Give us a call. Send us something. Picture. He sends out wonderful packages. And the winner is, let's see, Lenny Nebraska. Cool. Congratulations, Lenny.
Very much so. Do we have any other prizes, Mary?
No, unless you want to give something away.
I was just about to say, of course we have another prize. Okay. And what is that prize? Who knows?
Oh, okay.
So this time it's going to come from the basket of DVDs, Blu-rays, and books that now resides under my desk.
Ah, cool. Okay. And the winner of that is... let's see. Who is this? Pete Steema. So congratulations, Pete.
Congratulations, Pete. And who knows what you'll get, but promise to tell people.
Yeah. Really? Okay, that's it. Woo!
Woo!
I need some more wine.
By the way, folks, Mary is partaking of wine during this particular episode, as we recommend all do when watching a Ken Russell movie of any type.
You guys drove me to it. It's what happened.
Sure, you add a little laudanum.
Yeah, just add a little laudanum. There you go.
They even make laudanum anymore?
It's illegal, Mary.
Well, no, I know that, but I mean, even illegally, that's like not a thing anymore. I've never heard of it.
Well, why would you go to the trouble to make laudanum when you can just shoot heroin in your arm?
That's true. That is probably why they drank the damn stuff. Did they have syringes in the 1800s? Early 1800s?
I'm going to say that I have no idea.
I don't either.
Because I'm pretty sure they must have had them at some point, but I don't know. Perhaps one of our sharp listeners is a knowledgeable medical historian who could tell us when the first syringe was used.
Okay.
Because we're all about history on the B Movie Cast.
This is true. Okay, I just Googled it. They were popular. Oh, that isn't, no.
Okay, Mary, live Googling things while we're doing the podcast is not recommended.
Yeah, I'm not, never mind. He came up with something I wasn't expecting.
Now I want to know what you Googled and what.
Mary has not mastered what I call safe Google search terms yet.
Yeah, don't Google when were syringes developed, because you're going to find out a whole lot more about syringes than needles. Okay, 1844.
Oh, wow. You realize, Mary, that everybody listening to the podcast at this point is going to stop and go
going to start
exactly that.
Okay, 1844, Irish surgeon Francis Rind, R-Y-N-D, invented what was arguably the world's first hollow needle.
So
no, they didn't. So that's why they drank it instead. Okay.
Yeah, it'd be a lot harder to just push it into your vein.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to push it into your veins when you don't have a needle. Okay. I wonder if it would tear up your stomach. I gotta research laudanum more.
Mary, what are you, some sort of drug czar?
No, I'm curious about things.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
So, the next film we're going to do is a history of laudanums.
Okay. Wasn't there a movie about being curious? The name of it?
Curious George.
Oh, no, that wouldn't be it.
And the guy with the man with the yellow hat?
No, that's not it.
Okay.
Okay, back to Gothic. You guys still there?
Yeah, we're still here. We're just waiting for you, Mary.
Well,
I'm Googling laudanum.
So am I.
Oh, good Lord. Okay, fine. So I'm going to talk about this movie. So,
okay, laudanum is a tincture of opium containing 10% powdered opium by weight.
Yep.
It's prepared by
dissolving 1% morphine. So that's what happened. No one makes it anymore because you just use morphine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Laudanum is prepared by dissolving extracts from the opium poppy, in alcohol.
Yeah. Okay.
The poppy, as made famous in The Wizard of Oz.
Which explains a whole lot of stuff when they were walking through those fields.
Yep, poppies will help them sleep. Sleep.
Just keep following the yellow brick road, guys.
The yellow brick road.
And of course we all know that was a reference to the gold and silver standards.
What?
Yep.
Yeah, Mary. The Wizard of Oz was the ounce.
What?
OZ, the abbreviation for ounce. And the idea, it was originally in the book, I believe it was the silver brick road. And it was wanting to go on the silver standard, to be specific.
No, I think it was the yellow brick road in the...
Was it the gold standard then?
No, but it was the silver slippers.
That's what it was. Yeah, it was silver slippers on the gold road.
Yeah.
And now, okay, let's see. What rabbit holes have we gone down so far?
Google Wizard of Oz now.
And you know what that leads to, Mary?
No, what?
Zardoz.
Oh. Where's Matt Kowalski when you need him?
Exactly. So, okay, I'm going to take a moment, by the way, and just say Gabriel Byrne is in this film. He plays Lord Byron. And I think he was an excellent choice to play Lord Byron.
Mm-hmm.
My one comment, when Shelley and Percy and everybody arrives at the mansion and they come in, he greets them at the top of this giant staircase. And right behind him is this giant portrait of himself. And the first thing I said to Fiona when we were watching it was, if I were Gabriel Byrne, I would demand that painting as part of my pay for being in this movie. Because they painted that specifically for the movie. You know that they didn't just happen to find a painting that looked exactly like, Gabriel Byrne dressed as Lord Byron. So I'm imagining they painted it for the movie, and it is hanging up to this day in Gabriel Byrne's house.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I thought that was interesting.
See if he has a Facebook page and ask him.
Yes, I'll get rid of it. Gabriel Byrne, random question. Do you still have that? Do you have that life-size painting of yourself from Gothic?
We were just curious.
You remember that?
Hey, Gabe, random. Hey, you got that painting? And how much you want for it, Gabe?
Yeah, man, I think it'll complete my living room.
No.
Do you know, I don't think I could sleep if I had a painting of Gabriel Byrne, a giant Gabriel Byrne painting in the house.
I would sleep really like a baby. He's always been my guardian angel.
That's true. Plus, you'd have laudanum.
Never mind.
What are you Googling now, Mary?
I'm just going through the pictures on IMDb trying to find the portrait
Gabriel
you're talking
Byrne
about.
thing?
Yeah, the portrait of Gabriel Byrne.
Well, you're not going to see it because what the movie is famous for.
Yeah, I see it. Oh, I would like to have that if I was him.
See?
Yeah. Well, it's as big as he is.
I think it's bigger than him, but that's
it's huge.
Okay.
And here's the thing, when you think about paintings in the movie, there's actually the creepy scene that actually made the cover of the VHS box set.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, the VHS box, which is where there's this painting on the wall called The Nightmare or Nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And in the painting, like this little gnome golem little monster is looming over
it's a succubus.
A succubus. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's looming over a unconscious or sleeping woman menacingly. And of course, Mary Shelley has a nightmare / vision of that as one of the many drug-induced visions that occurred during the course of this one evening. And that's the other thing that's just shocking about this film is the whole thing is supposed to be happening in one evening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, you just can't cram that much crazy into one evening these days. I'm sorry.
No. There'd be too many people left dead after an evening like that.
Not since my 20s.
Well, and this was a Ken Russell film, and he did this one for Vestron as part of a 3-picture deal. I think I want to say that Lair of the White Worm was one of the 3 pictures in that deal, but it's very fun film, and interestingly enough, he actually Natasha Richards, plays Mary Shelley. Or Richardson, yeah. And her mother, Vanessa Redgrave, had actually starred in one of Ken Russell's first big films. I believe it was called The Devil.
Wait, her mother?
Yes, her mother, Vanessa Redgrave.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And this was one of her early films, and because she was only, I think, 22 or 23 when they made this. And she actually went to her mom and talked to her mom about working for Ken Russell because apparently he put her mom through hell making The Devil. And, she said, yeah, he's demanding and difficult to work for. And it was a great experience. And he really is an artist. And so mom was all like, do it. And so, her mom was I'm not going to say pushing, but strongly recommending that Natasha Richardson do the film.
I read somewhere where she was like in tears. Like, you remember the stories you heard about The Shining and what's her name?
Shelley Duvall.
Shelley Duvall. I got that feeling that he was doing that to her in this.
Well,
I read somewhere where she would be crying and then make him do this scene again, and she'd be crying, and she was like really torn up by the time she had to keep doing retakes and stuff.
I could see that, and at the same time, I don't know, because she's she's a pretty good actress.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like she'd be able to bring out a lot of the emotions that he was looking for without necessarily going to the abuse level that you're describing.
But this was her film debut, right?
It wasn't her film debut. She had been in several movies before this, but she'd been in about 2 or 3 films before this. She'd also done a number of TV appearances. She was in a couple of TV shows. I think she was in The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes for one. So nothing major, but this was one of her first big roles.
Okay.
And bear in mind, this wasn't a huge film when it came out. This wasn't the big movie of 1986. I mean,
yeah.
But it was definitely more of an art house film.
Yeah. Didn't it cost $2 million to make, but it only made $980,000?
Wouldn't surprise me.
Too? I think he said
those are very specific numbers, so it sounds like you're right.
Yeah, I think I read that, but I'm not sure because.
Yeah.
I Google a lot of stuff, so who knows?
Yeah.
But I think I also read that Ken Russell said that he kind of made up the deficit with rental rights and stuff because it became like a cult film and. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. Remember, this is made in the 80s, and the 80s was really the start of the home video revolution.
That's true.
And that's when, because what you had before movie rentals, essentially, before the video store, your biggest hope was that a film would then be picked up by TV stations and played in syndication and things like that, so you could make a little money on it after that way. But maybe it would get a re-release, maybe every now and then, but that was usually for the big films like King Kong or Frankenstein, things like that. You really didn't see a lot of re-releases of most films, so they either went to TV or they just kind of disappeared into the ether. And then we had the video cassette revolution. And that's where the studios were able to bring out all these prints from their vault and go, oh my God, we can make money on these again. And so Gothic was shot right in the middle of the straight-to-video revolution, actually, where you had filmmakers making a lot of lower budget films that were sent directly to VHS. Some of them never even had theatrical releases. So, I could totally see him making his money back there.
You know what? Natasha Richardson died when she was 46?
Something like that. Yeah, she was Liam Neeson's wife, and she was injured in a skiing accident.
Ooh.
And died of a cerebral hemorrhage, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh. Well, in this movie, she plays Mary Shelley, and she only lived till she was 53, and she had a brain tumor that she died from. It's creepy.
Actually, that is a creepy little side note there. Okay. But yeah, apparently when she died, Liam Neeson was devastated.
I didn't realize she was married to him.
Do what?
I didn't realize she was married to him. Wow.
Yeah, they'd been married for, I want to say 10 or 15 years at the time she died.
Man.
Because he married her in the mid-90s. Yeah. He was about 11 or 12 years older than her also.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So there you go. That's our history of Natasha Richardson. But no, it was regrettable that she passed away. And yeah, she did pass away young.
Mm-hmm. So tell me more about Gabriel Byrne, because he fascinates me. I don't understand why he didn't I don't know, make it bigger than he did.
I'm not sure what you mean by make it bigger than he did. We know who he is, so he's doing pretty well that way.
Yeah. Superstar type. To me, he's a really good actor, I think.
I hope Gabriel Byrne's not listening to this. It's like, damn it, Mary.
Is he?
What do I have to do to make you happy?
Is he really?
No, I'm just saying.
Oh.
I hope he's not.
Gabriel, I'm going to say this, guys. Gabriel Byrne has been making 2 or 3 films a year for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
40 years. His first film that I found a credit for was in 1978.
Yeah.
So, dude's not doing bad.
Oh, I know. I know, but he ends up doing like character actors more than like a leading role, and I think he should be a leading role kind of person.
Well, have you ever seen Miller's Crossing?
No, I haven't.
You should watch Miller's Crossing. It's a really good it's a good film, and he's one of the leads. I'm trying to remember. I think he was the main guy in it.
What was it called?
Miller's Crossing.
Okay.
And it was produced by the Coen, written, directed, and produced by the Coen brothers.
Oh,
yeah, that's a very good movie.
Yes, it is. And it was from 1990, so just a couple of years after this.
Okay.
But yeah, Mary, he's been involved in a lot of really big films and a lot of good films, a lot of critically acclaimed films. And, he's also been in End of Days with Arnold Schwarzenegger playing Satan. So he's got that going for him.
Yeah. I like him.
No, I like him. I like Gabriel Byrne, too. I think, he's a very accomplished working actor.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
That's what it would be. I mean, he's very successful in what he's doing. Yeah. And bear in mind, he also has done a lot of television, and he does a lot of theater as well.
That's probably why I don't really hear a lot about him.
Yeah, because he only does 3 or 4 films a year, Mary.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm being sarcastic there, by the way. I don't think you picked up on that.
I did. I was ignoring it because I saw he was in Vikings and that. I went, oh, I remember that.
He's in Hereditary. That's his biggest, most recent film, probably.
Yeah, and that's a creepy film.
He's great in that. The scene where he breaks down in the car is amazing.
Oh, yeah, and I didn't realize he was in Vikings.
Yeah.
Haven't seen Vikings.
Oh, man, I love that.
Okay, I'll watch it.
Well, you have seen Maniac, Brian, right?
Maniac's fantastic.
Well, he's in that.
Yeah.
So there you go.
There I do go.
All right, fine. So what we decided is
Mary I don't know how to respond to that. Yes, you're correct. All the things you said are true.
That's it.
Mary thinks he should make more movies and make more money and be a bigger star than he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Basically, you're just saying, Gabriel Byrne, I am so disappointed in you.
No, I want more. I want more.
So let's see. So far, we've determined that Mary's not happy that Natasha Richardson passed away, and that she's disappointed in Gabriel Byrne. Okay.
And that she hates nipples. Don't forget that she hates nipples.
Oh, yeah, she absolutely hates
I just don't
nipples.
like when they turn into eyeballs.
Well, I mean...
So then why were you griping about them in Candy Stripe Nurses? They didn't turn into eyeballs in that.
That was because it was Candy Stripe Nurses.
Oh, okay.
I actually could see the reason for nudity more in this one than I could in the last 2 movies we watched. It made more sense in this movie. I know it was put in there for, just to make money for the exploitation value, but still,
I don't think so in this one. I think in this
made
one
more sense than the other.
Yeah,
movies.
this movie's about sexuality.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, Mary. Ken Russell, when he was making it, wasn't like, and let's make everyone be naked because that'll make this movie make more money.
Right. Yeah.
I guarantee that never crossed Ken Russell's mind.
Yeah, if he was trying to get the movie to make more money, there are many other choices he could have made.
Yeah.
Like putting a plot in it. That would have made more money. But he didn't give a crap. He was going to do what he wanted.
Well, and it's interesting because, he did not write this film. He just directed it. But again, he gets it's Ken Russell's Gothic, that treatment. And it was already a little bit crazy when he got a hold of it. It's just he brought his particular artistic eye to it.
Yeah.
So did he get along with the writer? Stephen Volk? Do you know?
I don't know for sure. What I do know is I watched an interview with Russell, and he was talking about this film specifically because the interview was from British television right about a couple of weeks before the film was due to be released.
Wow.
And, so there's Julian Sands is talking about it and Natasha Richardson's talking about it. And that's when I actually found out that her mom was Vanessa Redgrave, because this is where she tells the story that she went to her mom and asked, what it was like to work for, Ken Russell.
Yeah.
Because, mom had worked for him when she was about 8 or 9 years old. And she wanted to, see what it was like. And during this interview, among many things that Russell said, one of my favorites was that what's the best way to put it? He was not very popular among the critics for most of his films. And he said that he's been very pleased that over the course of his career, which, 30 years or so at this point, over the course of his career, the critics are coming around to his filmmaking style. And so now, instead of getting 1 out of 100 reviews, there'd be 1 good review when he started. Now, out of 100 reviews, there'd be 2 good reviews. And he said, I've accomplished my mission. It's like I'm 100% more accepted. So, well, I get the feeling he didn't care.
Yeah, I don't think you make a movie like this worrying about what critics are going to say about it.
Yeah.
You're making an art piece that's about things that are really messed up and strange. So
yeah. And speaking of things that are messed up and strange,
Julian Sands.
Yes, Julian Sands. Who, okay, I have to say, I think Julian Sands is awesome. I actually had the pleasure of meeting him at a horror convention about, 6 or 7 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, and he actually agreed I talked to his agent, and he agreed to do a short interview with me. And I actually didn't publish the interview because I realized at the time, okay, I was going up to talk to this guy on Sunday at the end of a con.
Mm-hmm.
And you really have to appreciate just how tired most folks are by the time you get to Sunday at the end of a convention.
Yeah.
And, he spent all weekend answering questions and, signing autographs and probably drinking a whole lot after hours or during the con. It doesn't matter. But, and so we went up and we were asking him questions, and mostly I got yes or no answers. But my favorite was, and so what made you decide to do, and I can't even remember which movie I was talking to him about, but I think it was Warlock. I think that was because that was the movie he was there mostly at a horror convention about. And I think I said, so what made you decide to do that? And he said, they paid me. And that's why I said, all right, well, thank you very much. And he was a nice enough guy. But as I said, I think I caught him at a bad time.
Yeah, he'd had
for a good interview.
Yeah.
So I chalked it up to that and just canned the interview.
Yeah. Yeah. Aw. He's done a lot of work.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, and he was in Warlock, which is an absolutely delightful little late 80s horror movie, which has a scene where somebody is actually, if I remember right, it looks like he's being flown like a kite at one point because he's the warlock and he's trying to fly away and they've got him by a rope. And it just looks like they're trying to fly a Julian Sands kite.
Oh. Is it good?
It's
Warlock?
Okay, whoa. Ask Brian.
Oh. Brian, is it good? Warlock.
It's not very good. Watch it.
Okay.
See,
that kind of movie.
Because my answer would be, it's good. Watch it.
Ah, okay.
And that's why
it's not bad. Nick's way of, he's like, this movie's so good. At some point, it looks like Julian Sands is a kite. So, like, it's not. How's Warlock? It's no boxing Helena. That's all I can say.
That's true. It's definitely no boxing Helena.
You've seen Boxing Helena?
No.
Correct?
Okay.
What are you talking about?
Oh.
We're talking about movies that Julian Sands has done that are really weird.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
Boxing
okay.
Helena.
Yeah.
Which I don't even
Boxing-
see. I'm trying to find it on his filmography.
It was 1993.
Was it that late? I
Mhm.
always... Okay, you're right.
Yep.
So what's... Okay, surgeon becomes
So
obsessed
he
with
plays a
seductive
doctor.
woman.
He plays a surgeon who's infatuated with a woman played by Sherilyn Fenn, and he ends up basically cutting her arms and legs off and keeping her as a torso.
Ew.
So there you go. Boxing Helena.
Hilarity ensues.
Hilarity ensues. It's a slapstick comedy.
Paxton's in it.
What? Yes, Bill
Pa-
Paxton's
And
in it.
Art Garfunkel?
Yeah. It's bizarre and wonderful.
Nicolette Scorsese, is she married or is she related to...
I don't know.
Yeah, doesn't say.
She is probably one of the many Scorsese relatives.
Yeah, we should have done Boxing Helena.
No, I think Gothic is crazy enough for Mary.
Well, Boxing Helena has a plot.
Oh, see, I might have been happier. Well, no, I don't know. No, I don't want a legless, armless torso at the end of a movie.
Well, it's just like one of those movies about the disembodied heads that Vince loved. It's just there's a lot more neck.
I was just married to him. I didn't.
The fun part about Boxing Helena is even when she's just the torso in a box, she still like has power over him because he's so obsessed with her and she refuses to cave.
Wow.
So it gets really interesting.
Ew.
It's a power dynamic film.
Yeah, I got that in this movie a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, power and sex and ugh. It got very intense in this movie.
Did it? I didn't notice.
And the thing is, it's like the problem was I knew too much about the story ahead of time and who had slept with who and all that kind of stuff. So when you saw it, it's like, I don't know. It was confusing because there were extra stuff in this movie that weren't real. Again, I had trouble with this movie because there was so much fantasy and it was hard to distinguish the fantasy segments of the movie from the reality segments sometimes.
Yeah, but I think that the point was you're in their heads as they're working all this stuff out.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I joke, it's the ultimate shadow work movie. Because it's about these people taking drugs and then confronting the demons of their own personalities. Yeah. So, like, that's kind of what the movie is about to me.
Okay.
So,
I read somewhere where what's his face he wanted it to be about her losing the baby.
Yeah.
Wait, Ken Russell? Or?
Yeah, Ken Russell. Thank you.
Well, okay, and here's the thing. If you look at the way they used that in the film, it really, the loss of the baby, is, she talks repeatedly about wanting to bring the baby back. Wanting, wishing that they could have brought the baby by the fire and warmed it up and it would have been okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the idea there is that this was part of what inspired her to create
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein, right?
Yeah.
That and, her future husband, Percy's obsessive interest in lightning and how lightning could bring life.
Yeah.
You really get to see how a lot of these things play into each other. Like Dr. Polidori's obsession with leeches and bleeding people and such, and leads into vampire or the vampire.
That's true.
I mean, it's.
See, I guess it was so disconnected for me that I didn't catch those. I didn't put those pieces together. I think that was the problem for me. I probably have to watch it again, and I don't know if I can.
Well, it does help that this is the third or fourth time that I've seen the film.
Okay.
I will say this is the first time I've watched this movie completely sober, so that was an interesting experience.
Oh.
This is a movie that I will hang out with friends and we'll be throwing back some beers, and it's like, let's watch Gothic because it's crazy and weird. So, yeah, I'm a weird guy. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Sorry.
No, there's nothing weird about that. That's fitting for this film. So
Well, see, I can't imagine a lot of my friends being comfortable watching this movie, so that's not something I would say.
Well, Mary,
hey,
you
let's go
have
watch this movie. I have a very, very varied. I have people from all parts of society in my life. Let me put it that way. Some could accept it and some couldn't.
That is a very good way to put it, Mary. And yes, thinking about your friends that come over at New Year's when I've been at your house with Fiona, I'm going to say most of them would not enjoy Gothic.
I can't remember who was here.
Well, think about who your friends are in North Carolina or South Carolina, Mary. It's not that difficult.
Those are the ones that I can't remember which ones came over at New Year's.
Well, I'm not going to name them, Mary.
Yeah, okay.
We'll discuss afterwards. I don't want to be called out.
Yeah, really. Next time you come down here, they'll ignore you and start throwing things at you. You said stuff about me.
I just imagine Nick comes over to your house and some guy Tim just walks up to him and was like, "Why'd you tell everyone I hate Julian Sands?"
Really?
Exactly. So, fine.
If there was a guy named Tim at this party, I apologize, Tim.
Yes.
This Tim is not reflective of any actual Tims, living or dead. Yeah.
Okay, I think we went down another rabbit hole again.
We did.
Okay,
so
who's
let's
Miriam
talk about
Sear?
Miriam Sear, and she is a very interesting. She hasn't done a lot of movies, but she's worked as she works in theater a lot, and one of the more interesting things is that she has a website. It's and you can visit it. It's miriamsear.com, I believe. Hang on. Now it's my turn. Yes, it's miriamsear.com. And among other things, you can pick up a copy of her book, Letters of a Portuguese Nun. Unearthing the Mystery Behind the 17th Century Forbidden Love by Miriam Sear.
Huh.
And it sounds like an interesting book, actually. And she has done.
I think she's done Warhol. That's
yes.
Okay.
Ultraviolet.
Just put all that together. She has the coolest looking eyes.
Oh.
She does. She has crazy cool eyes.
Crazy, scary eyes.
Well, I mean, if you're going to judge people like that, Miriam can't control her eyes. I think they're beautiful.
It doesn't help that they were close-up shots of her eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Russell really, he picked out that feature and said, we're going to go with it.
Yeah. No, she's great in this movie because she's so simple but big. I don't know. There's just something interesting about I don't know, that just her performance. You know, the other ones are kind of naturalistic to some extent, but she just goes completely, you know, one focus on him the whole time, which is interesting.
Yeah. Well, she is the character that is most madly in love with Lord Byron at the time. She plays Claire.
I don't even know if I'm going to say in love. She's obsessed.
Obsessed is a better word. You're right. I mean, she's just bonkers, crazy, obsessed with Lord Byron. And you just get the feeling Lord Byron's right on the edge of meh, you know, with her. I mean,
I don't even know that it's on the edge, because the first thing he says when he sees her is, "What, you followed me 1,000 miles across the ocean. That says something about you, or maybe something about me," which is both like really mean and incredibly arrogant, all in the same sentence. So,
that kind of sums up his character to me.
Yeah, but like
mean and arrogant.
But what's interesting is he hates himself.
Yeah.
Like, you get the sense that he's like this because he's just super self-loathing and has some really dark stuff going on inside of him, which the drugs make him deal with.
Okay.
Which is, again, that's what I think the whole movie is one big shadow work thing.
Yeah.
You know, about things that we repress and keep hidden, that we only let, you know, and then that ending where they're all sitting there drinking tea and playing, and it's light, and he's like, there are no ghosts during the daytime. It's like their masks are back on. Mm-hmm. They're pretending to be these people, you know, and it's just become a game for them, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, especially since like the guy had holes in his hand the next morning. And
yeah, but I guess that didn't happen because that was, well, that scene is intercut with her with the sister in bed with Lord Byron. And then at the end of that scene, Lord Byron's covered in blood after various acts that they do not show.
I thought that was her miscarriage.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Well, that's the implication. But then at the very end of that sequence, they cut to a wide, and she's laying in bed alone, and there's no blood. So the implication is, was that real, or was that completely her fantasy?
Okay.
You know, or dream. So that makes you wonder.
Or was it Lord Byron's dream?
Yeah.
See, that's what.
And I don't.
Yeah.
But I don't think it really matters, because the whole point is when you're in that drugged out state and kind of sharing that group delusion, what's real and what's not real doesn't matter, because it's real to them in the moment.
Yeah.
So it's about what they're experiencing in that moment and how it relates to their psyches. Mm-hmm. You know, the demons that they're facing from within.
I think that's why I like the movie, because he is so good at giving you that feeling. You do understand that. But by the same token, I don't like the movie because I wanted to understand it. I didn't want it to be a dream sequence. I didn't want it to be a delirium.
Yeah.
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 I mean, it makes more sense to have it as a delirium, but...
Well, but maybe it's not, you know? It could be not a delirium, where when they do that seance and she smashes the skull at the end, that they really did conjure something, and in their hallucinogenic state, it's very real, and then they exercise it, and then when they wake up the next morning, they're like, oh, it was just the drugs.
Okay,
maybe
that's
like
it.
That could be real.
I want movies to just tell me a story, or tell me. I don't want to wonder afterwards. You know.
But you're supposed to be in the headspace of the characters in this movie, and they don't know what's real and what's not.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
You know, so to really understand the characters and to explore what the characters are dealing with, mostly inside themselves, you have to let it be weird and nebulous.
Yeah.
So that's my take, at least. I'm sorry.
I know. I understand, but I think that's also what confused me so badly through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not a movie if you're like, I want the movie to tell me what's going on. This is not the movie for you.
It does not hold your hand at all, ever.
Yeah, right. I think that's what I was expecting when I walked into it. Now that I know what it is, I can watch it again and accept it for that and look at it at a different angle.
Yeah, if you end up ever watching it again, you'll see a lot of new stuff because you won't be looking for some big overarching theme or story. So each moment has cool things. Because I really think that Ken Russell's the kind of guy that if he comes up with an idea, he's just like, I'm going to throw it in the movie. You know, this is interesting. Just in this one scene, things don't necessarily connect to everything else all the time.
Yeah,
which can be really frustrating, but also gives you some freedom to do some cool, weird things like breasts with eyes.
Yes,
breasts with eyes, and a lot of wind-up, life-size wind-up figures.
Oh, what are those things called?
Animatronics, maybe?
They had a name for them back in those days.
Yeah, but those
creepy
scenes are hilarious. Like the scene where the things, like there's the wind-up robot thing, and it's stripping.
Oh yeah,
and then he like reaches to touch it, and it smacks his hand. Like that scene was really funny to me because the idea, like, you think he's just supposed to be watching this robot, but then it smacks his hand away is pretty funny. Maybe just for me, but oh well.
No, actually it was. I thought it was hilarious, and that was the thing because it was so absurd.
Yeah, there's an absurdity to this movie that's fun. And also, like, Lord Byron, clearly his tolerance for the drugs is way higher than everyone else's. So everyone's freaking out, and he just goes to him, and he's like, "You should go to bed." Like, his answer is, because he's like, "I've been there, man. Come on, it's time. Just go to bed. You just need to sleep this off, bro." So.
Well, and it's funny you brought that up because that's, you know, he was apparently doing this. This kind of evening was pretty common for Lord Byron.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was, and what was it? He described himself as being in exile from England because he was too crazy and he was too bohemian.
But he's the one who made that decision.
Exactly.
Because it's self-exile. So he's like, and that's where that self-hatred, you know, he's trying to accept himself as he is, but he just can't. You know, he can't quite get there. And so it comes out in all these really messed up ways. Maybe I'm reading way too much into this movie, but
no, I think you're spot on with it, but
okay.
Well, what were you about to say, Mary?
I didn't. No. Never mind.
No, just not gonna give an opinion. Got it.
No.
Mary's just like, don't poke the bear.
Well, I was personally thinking that he had that, I don't know, clubfoot or something wrong with his leg.
Well, he did.
So
Lord Byron did, yeah.
In real life. So he probably did have a bigger tolerance for drugs because
That's
he was
true.
probably taking them a lot for pain.
Yeah,
actually, that's a good call.
Yep, that's probably where he started.
And it might be why he had his doctor. And to me, the doctor was just a drug dealer.
They were implying a romantic relationship. I think the doctor was the doctor thought he was Lord Byron's lover until new people showed up and he realized just how expendable he was, you know?
Okay.
Because I think Lord Byron was just messing with him because he was there.
Well, that
was the impression I got.
Okay.
Because there's that scene where he gets jealous and he gets mad that Lord Byron's throwing him aside for the other woman.
Yeah.
Which is also the scene where he's slamming his hand into the nail, you know, because there's like a sense of guilt and jealousy there.
Yeah.
Well, and, you know, he was a doctor, but at the same time, he was actually, what was it Lord Byron said? He was there more as a scribe, recording Byron's life.
Yeah.
Something of that nature. So there was that, and there's also, and bear in mind the time that this was going on, the idea of homosexuality was extremely taboo.
Yeah.
Not quite as taboo as the idea that Lord Byron may or may not have slept with his sister, but that's beside the point.
You know what? I'm not sure that at this time period, homosexuality was less taboo than incest. At this time period, I really think, I don't know.
Yeah, they were probably both right up there. So,
yeah.
The self-exile thing, the film opens up with people on the beach, because this is on an island out in Lake Geneva, I think, in Switzerland. And there are actually, tourists at the hotel on the shore. And they're actually looking through a spyglass over at the island at Lord Byron's mansion, just hoping to see something goofy.
I thought they were just on the opposite shore. I didn't realize.
Well, they are on the opposite shore of. Well, it's an island, and it's the shore opposite where the mansion was.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't get that it was an island. I just thought it was just.
That was an interesting little bookend too. You start with tourists. Tourists of the day trying to see something scandalous, and then you cut to tourists of today, or 1980 or 1986 or whatever, because it ends with that shot of the building as a museum kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you start with tourists and end with tourists, and it's just what were they fascinated about then? What are they fascinated about now?
Yeah.
Not much has changed. So.
Well, that's it. And, I got to say, Timothy Spall played, Dr. Polendara. And what was that?
Oh, he's so creepy in this.
Well, yes, he was very creepy, and that's exactly what he was supposed to be.
I know.
I was
sad and despised him at the same time, which made me feel bad that I would feel sad and despise someone at the same time.
Well, this is the thing. He was, of all the characters that were presented, and even to me, Claire had a certain innocence about her, I felt like, almost. She was almost childlike.
No, see, I didn't see it as innocence. I just saw it as she just did what she wanted to do.
See, I took it more
but that's
like
childlike,
Yeah.
Well,
she doesn't understand the consequences to what anything she's doing.
Oh no, see,
she hasn't been hit. She hasn't been hit down with life yet. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought of it as just she just did what she wanted to do.
Well, and that
despite
may be
the consequences. But see, that might be because I knew the story about her before I watched the movie.
Well,
that colored my feeling. That colored my feeling towards her character.
Okay, and see, she was one of the characters. She was the character actually that I knew the least about historically.
Okay.
And so, but then you look at Polidori, however you say his name, and he wrote his story about the vampire, and he had. Throughout the film, they projected this obsession with blood, but also an obsession with sexuality. And again, going back to the day, he would have been considered a pariah if it were known that he was a homosexual. And yet he was there in this environment where he could, I would say, be as open about it as one could probably be at that time.
Yeah, you're right.
And there were a lot of very interesting scenes between him and Lord Byron. But going back to what I was saying, though, I think Claire was more. She to me came across as more of an innocent, whereas Polidori, he was also a tragic character, but he came off more sinister.
Yeah, but if you think about it, what did he really do that was bad or sinister, other than putting leeches in rice?
Hey,
which is just a waste.
Very nice
rice.
Plate of rice.
Yeah. But
See,
I mean,
I
really,
don't
like,
think of it.
he looked creepy.
Yeah.
And he, you know,
Which is-
they implied, like, oh, his sexuality is deviant. Other than that, he didn't really do anything bad.
I know, that's why I feel bad for not liking him.
Yeah.
I should feel sad
You literally
for
just,
him,
like,
but I feel
you're literally
bad.
just like, I don't like his face. Like, he looks creepy.
Well, he did spend a lot of the movie trying to figure out how to kill himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Mary hated him for that.
Yeah.
So.
Oh. Can now you make me feel even worse about not liking him?
No. It's interesting because you don't like him, but there's no reason for you to not like him except that he makes faces and like looks really, really. He just looks really lecherous.
Yes.
You know, like
yes.
he's just like, I want sex all the time.
Yes.
Craziness.
That's probably it. That's it.
But he doesn't really do anything. And then when he did the one bad thing he did is the leeches. And then he comes back to Lord Byron with his tail between his legs apologizing for something that Lord Byron doesn't even give a crap about at that point, you know?
Yeah.
And he's just like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make it weird with the leeches.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the direct quote from the movie.
Yeah, that's pretty close, actually. It's all right. Well, I mean, we've talked about the director. We've talked about all of the principal actors in this. Do we want to... Is there anybody else we'd like to talk about associated with the film?
Not that I can think of.
Okay.
It's a really small cast. It's basically a play.
Yeah.
So.
And actually, it's funny you said that because a lot of times during this, it felt like a play. Because
has anyone written a play based on this?
That'd be an interesting one to find out.
I would love to put on a play based on this movie. It would be so weird.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
The one-man show of Lord Byron and his drug-addled sex weekend.
Starring Riker Hill.
Oh, my
as
God.
Mary Shelley and Lord Byron.
I don't think that would go over well in this time.
I think it would go over like gangbusters, Mary.
Okay.
I don't know. It could go either way.
It could, but I think it would. But anyway, so I'm going to attempt to summarize the plot of a movie whose plot was what do you get when you mix a bunch of people with a lot of money, a bunch of creative talent, not a lot of sense, and a whole lot of drugs? You get the film Gothic. So
good luck.
Yeah, good luck. So the film opens up, and as Brian was pointing out, it opens up and you're looking through a spyglass at this mansion. And, you've got all these tourists turn of the 19th century. So we're talking 1816, I think, is when it was set. So turn of the 19th century tourists in Geneva looking at this island. And they're looking through a spyglass at the infamous Lord Byron and all of his crazy shenanigans that go on this island. And he's the lecherous Englishman who's come to live on the island. And, Lord Byron was loaded. I mean, that's I think we had a discussion about wealth and stuff like that on the last episode, Mary, when we were talking about aristocracy. And I'm going to say Lord Byron, he was loaded. Mm-hmm. And he was loaded enough that he could hire servants that would totally ignore how just bonkers he was.
Or do whatever he tells them to do.
Exactly. And, even if it is have one of them, put on a ceramic mask and be Augusta, his sister. Mm-hmm. It's like, what? Okay. But anyway, so we cut to Byron's Island, and a little rowboat is arriving. And in the rowboat, we have Percy Shelley, who was played by Julian Sands. We have Mary Goodwin, who is Percy Shelley's, and that's Natasha Richardson. And she's Percy's girlfriend slash lover slash muse slash possibly mistress, because I think he was married at the time to someone else.
Yeah, in real life, she was 19 years old. She met him when she was 17. He was married the whole time.
Yeah.
Had a baby, did his real wife, and ran off with her. And then her parents wouldn't have anything to do with her because she ran off with a married man when she was 17.
Yep.
That's
and so there you go. Mary has the history of Mary Shelley, and which is good, And the thing is, nowadays morals have changed a bit. It's a lot looser. Back then, that was pretty scandalous. So everybody in this was kind of scandalized in one way or another. And they've got Claire Claremont, who is, I guess, Mary's stepsister or something of that nature.
Okay. Mary's mother died when she was 1 month old, and then her father remarried. So Claire Claremont was her stepsister.
Boom.
Her stepmother's
See, I got
daughter.
it right, Mary.
Yeah.
And by the way, thank you for having all this history behind all these people, because I'm just thinking about the movie. You actually have the history of what really happened.
See, that's what screwed me up with the movie, though.
Well, okay, I could see that, actually.
Yeah.
So anyhow, Claire, Mary, and Percy show up on the island, and there's this very weird scene where these two little young girls come chasing after Percy, and they're running up and towards the mansion, and they're chasing him. But then two vicious attack dogs come out and chase the two girls off and run them off, a cliff. Meanwhile, or not off a cliff, but over a fence. Meanwhile, Claire falls in the water. She doesn't care. She goes running up to the house all wet because she's excited to see Lord Byron, who she is just infatuated with. And, Percy's there with his lover, Mary, and they're just heading towards the house, kind of casual. But at the same time, it's not casual because Percy runs with his arms up, waving over his head like a madman. And that's when I was watching it and I was like, this is such a Ken Russell movie because that scene just screams Ken Russell. And it makes very little sense how everything transpires there. They don't explain anything, why the dogs were there, who the girls were. They don't explain any of that. They just, you just buffalo on through it.
I know.
And then they go into the house, and Lord Byron's there being very Lord Byron-y. So he greets them at the top of the stairs, right in front of his giant giant portrait of himself. He's coming across as a larger-than-life, aggrandized figure who seems very full of himself. And at the same time, as Brian points out, he's also a character who really hates himself. But he puts on this magnificent front of being this, this, I am Lord Byron, hear me roar, and it's fascinating, and they've all come together to just have a fun weekend. The way that, the very, very wealthy back in Europe in the 18th and 19th century could only have fun, which is to hang out, do a lot of drugs, have a lot of sex, and tell each other scary stories until they decide to actually write some scary stories. So what transpires is we have a dinner where they really kind of set the stage for the dynamic of the relationships here. And we see, Mary is very much into Percy, but she's fascinated with Lord Byron. But at the same time, I get the feeling she doesn't like him that much. She's interested, but she doesn't necessarily like him. Claire, of course, is hanging on his every word. And then we're also introduced to Dr. Polidori, who is supposedly there chronicling the exile of Lord Byron from England. And at the same time, he's obviously also infatuated with Lord Byron. And he sort of takes a cotton to Julian Sands' character, Percy, also. So that's...
Did you just say takes a cotton to?
He did. I did.
That's amazing. All right.
So
I love it. I
So,
think it's beautiful.
So he took a cotton to him. And
cotton to him.
Yeah, and so at that point, they also start drinking this this kind of vaguely red liqueur. And it's like, oh, what's in it? And he's, oh, it's laudanum. Which, as we know, laudanum is 10% opium, 1% morphine, and 89% just crazy stuff. Yeah, alcohol or whatever.
Also, did you notice in that scene where they're at dinner, it's Lord Byron stands up with the thing and he just walks around while talking and just gently puts it in everyone's drink.
Yeah.
Like he literally drugs them.
Yeah. And
they don't take it themselves. He makes the decision for them.
Yeah, he's putting it in their drinks, and then later, once he's loosened them up, then he starts just pouring it willy-nilly, you know. And they're all drinking, and they're sitting around reading from a book of horror stories, and the horror stories, you know, they sort of start having these visions of what's happening in the stories, and that's interesting because there's this character who's like a knight, only he's evil, and he's come to take the children, and you know and as this evening progresses, they decide to have we're going to have a little contest, and we will see who can create the scariest story, and this, of course, is the origin of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. It's also the origin of the short story, The Vampire, or maybe it's The Vampire because they use the Y in there. And, well, I always, whenever I see it with a Y, I feel like you should say vampire.
You're right, yeah.
You know, and do sort of the European saying of it. The vampire, yes. But
they're reading from the Phantasmagoria.
Right, which is a collection of horror stories of the day.
Yeah.
And as they're reading them, of course, a storm is raging outside. And because a storm is raging outside, and because Percy's somewhat unhinged and now chock full of laudanum, he takes off all his clothes and is up on the roof trying to be struck by lightning because he's convinced that lightning is the most elemental power in the universe, and it can bring life to whatever it strikes. Generally speaking, whatever's struck by lightning usually just catches fire. But that's beside the point. And again, later that point is proven when a tree is struck by lightning and the shadows of the burning tree make them all think of, ooh, this monster's coming to get us. And I think it's these seeds that are planted as the story goes on that lead Mary Shelley down the road to her story of Frankenstein, or more to the point, her story of Frankenstein and his monster. Because it is revealed that she and Percy had a child the year before, only it was stillborn. And she was still very much dealing with this. But at the same time, you got the feeling that it was just extremely repressed. You know, because at the time, you know, this was prior to modern medicine when infant mortality was much, much higher. And it was not unusual to have 1 or 2 or 3 children that don't make it past infanthood.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's not that unusual, but at the same time, that doesn't make it any less traumatic. It just makes it more socially, I guess there's a social expectation that you'll just get over it.
Yeah.
You know, and just move on. Well, just have another, you know, that's fine, you know. But I don't think there was a good understanding of how traumatic such an event would be for a person. And so she's got that bubbling inside of her. And then all these other ideas are getting thrown in there with a whole mix of drugs. And meanwhile, you know, Polidori is being, I guess he's just being creepy is the best way to put it. He's just constantly being creepy. And yes, at one point they're having, I don't know, 3rd or 4th dinner, because by this time, I don't know, it's got to be 11 or 12 o'clock at night. And dude takes leeches out of his collection of leeches because of course he's a doctor, so he's going to have a big old bottle full of leeches, and he puts them on the rice plate under the silver cover. So when they take the cover off, it's this gruesome plate covered in rice and leeches. And, he thinks this is the funniest thing ever. Needless to say, nobody else is laughing. But that's kind
Except
of the
me.
start.
I was laughing. I was laughing.
That's true. But
I worry about you sometimes, Brian.
Hey,
don't worry too much.
Okay.
That's fair.
Okay.
Yeah. But at this point, the hallucinations really start kicking in. And I mean, this is when Mary goes to, her bedroom, and she sees this painting of, it was, what was it? It was The Nightmare. Mm-hmm. And in the nightmare, there's this imp or succubus that's about to do something naughty to a woman. And sure enough, she's fantasizing now that it's her, and, this thing is about to jump on top of her, when it's really just Claire who's kind of flopped over on top of her while she's sleeping. And, the next thing you know, they're all sort of having sex, but then there's that lightning strike and it spooks them, and they're all just, it's crazy. It jumps back and forth. Mm-hmm. And as the evening progresses, they just keep doing more and more drugs and going further and further down the road. I mean, at one point, they're just, as they're walking, there's a goat inside the mansion. Mm-hmm. And the goat occasionally pops back up, and it's just creepy. And by the way, I think keep count of how many times I say creepy during this, because that is the general vibe that comes out of this movie. It's crazy and it's creepy.
The goat also shows up before the drug usage, meaning there's an actual goat.
Yes, that's true.
So it's not a
hallucinogenic
goat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I believe that the boa constrictor actually also shows up before the drug use.
Yeah, he does talk about traveling with his menagerie.
Yeah, so I guess, and once again, this goes back to when you were super rich and didn't have income tax.
Yes.
So what'd you do?
Peacocks out there too.
Yeah, he had peacocks. He had, a boa constrictor. He had goats. He had a bunch of terrified servants. I mean, it's just.
And one of my favorite shots of the movie is when they cut to the servant and they're all acting crazy upstairs, and the servant just rolls his eyes and shakes his head.
Yeah,
it's just such a great shot, and that's the shot where I was like, okay, the director gets it. He knows that this is ridiculous and that these people are self-indulgent. You know? So, sorry, go ahead.
They were beyond self-indulgent, but as the evening progresses further, they decided they were going to have a seance over a skull that they dug up in the backyard recently. And so they're having this seance, and that supposedly, as the drugs work through them, releases this evil force that is now their visions are tormented visions that are being put upon them by this force from the skull. So Mary and the rest of them, they decide they've got to have another seance to get rid of the evil spirit. But at this point, Claire's gone completely off the rocker, and she's down in the sub-basement rolling around naked in the mud with a rat in her mouth. And, I'm totally, by the way, skipping over the 80 or 90 scenes where they're in various stages of trying to have sex.
Yeah. And there's a scene where she has a convulsion. They take her up in the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, there's that, and then that's when she flops over on top of Mary, who then has her fantasy.
Yeah.
Then it turns out that Claire thinks she's pregnant with Byron's, child. Yeah. Byron isn't too happy about that, and this goes back to, I think, his self-loathing, because he doesn't like himself so much that he would prefer she not have a child than have his child. And so that's where Claire or Byron, we're not sure who, has this vision of them having sexual relations that result in in a miscarriage or some sort of weird autoerotic abortion. I mean, it's hard to.
Sense.
it's hard to explain what happened there.
Yeah.
And it also is hard to decide if it actually happened.
True.
So, I mean, I'm not sure that scene did happen. And if you look historically, I believe she did have one of Byron's children.
Yeah.
At least. So,
yeah.
Who knows?
Because he took it from her and put it into a convent, and then it died there later.
Oh, well, thank you, historical downer. I much appreciate that bit of historical downers with Mary tonight on Fox. So
again, that's why I had such a problem with this movie. I knew so much of the history of it. Some of it just didn't make sense to me.
Only some of it didn't make sense to you. That's what I really like.
Made it even harder to,
Well, and by the way, folks, if my description seems like I'm saying the same things over and over again a lot, that's because the same things kind of happen over and over again a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The characters go through these horrifying visions. They try to have sex with each other. They eat some food. They have more drugs. And then they go make bad choices, and the whole cycle starts over again.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, they try to have the seance again to banish this evil. Only Mary she's had enough, and she takes a rock and smashes the skull, and this knocks everybody back. And we think that maybe the spirit or whatever has been released. And at this point, Mary starts really having her deepest, darkest prophetic visions that mostly involve her miscarriage and her really strong desire that she be able to bring that child back to life. And so there's lots and lots of imagery of this miscarriage birth, of dead fetuses, of, dead babies in a cradle with another baby, and one's just sort of a zombie baby and the other's a skeleton. I mean, just very, very weird imagery. And then it's daytime. And they're all out, and they're just like playing badminton and eating breakfast in the sunshine, having a picnic, laughing, and having just a grand old time.
Yes.
And then they do this really good cut where the camera kind of tilts up and it comes back down, and now they're all gone, and it's modern day, and now tourists are coming to the mansion to learn about, the place where Mary Shelley came up with Frankenstein. So, very, very, very interesting movie. And I'm going to say I would have tried to not give away the end of the film, but honestly, you can watch this film and not know that the end has come until the credits roll. So,
or you
there
might
you
not
go.
even believe that that's the end.
Yeah. Well,
or that the end really happened,
Well,
it's just a very confusing movie.
It was a very confusing movie, but again, I really like this film because it is just, okay, I will say this, Mary, there's little or no German expressionism in it. Okay, and I know you hate that.
Angles and stuff, yeah, I mean...
There was more German expressionism in Candy Stripe Nurses than there was in this. Okay, but what you can't deny is I've read a lot of stuff about Ken Russell, and one of the ways he's been described is he's been described as the Fellini of the North.
North what?
Well, North, as in he's in England, Fellini was in Italy.
Okay.
So Italy south of England. So on the globe, Mary, that North.
Okay.
But I think, I don't know if that's the case, but Ken Russell definitely had a unique style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
the cinematography was incredible in this. The lighting, the camera angles. It was all gorgeous. It really was. And it did get across the point because it does make you very uncomfortable to watch it. Which is the point. That, they're drug-induced haze. You do get that feeling. It's just hard to watch when you're not expecting that. I guess if I had expected it to begin with, I would have had an easier time with it. Like I said,
you should blame Nick. Nick didn't prepare Mary.
Why would I prepare her?
Because you made
so
me
that
watch
maybe
it.
she'd have a shot of enjoying the film. Maybe.
So what you're saying is I should have told her so she could do shots before she watched the film.
I mean, it would make it better. Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do have to watch it again. Someday.
I think you should watch it again, Mary. But this time, kick back, have a little bourbon, and watch it.
Well, no, I just, now that I know the concept behind it, I could probably enjoy it more. But I think that's probably why critics didn't like it to begin with either. Because they didn't expect that. They were expecting something else.
Critics tend to go to movies wanting a story to happen.
Yeah.
So
critics are so demanding.
When you basically get an interpretive dance art piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, people don't respond well to that.
Yeah. So I understand why you like it a lot, Brian. I mean, I could see you wanting to make that film.
Yeah, I like that it's like we're going to make an art movie and we're going to do what we want and it doesn't have to follow any rules.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of cool. Yeah. And yet there's still a lot going on in it.
Yeah.
What's more important for a movie to be good by hitting all these check marks of, the plot went this way and this followed this and this worked this way, or that a movie's interesting and tries to go for something new. You can't say you've seen a movie like this before.
True. Yeah.
And in the end, that's probably why, people still watch it, because they haven't seen anything like it before or since.
Mm-hmm. And I could see how mainstream America wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
For one thing, I mean, nowadays it's virtually free. It costs almost nothing to stream it, and you can, you stream it for 2 or 3 days. You can watch it as many times as you want. But back in those days, you had to spend some money to go to a movie theater to see this. And if you didn't understand it the first time, or you were curious, then you had to spend money the second time. And it could get pretty expensive to rewatch movies like this.
Yep.
So I kind of understand why people would be upset about it.
I've revisited it enough. This time I bought it on Amazon. So I own Gothic.
Oh.
Yay.
Hey, good for you,
whopping
Brian.
$6. So
$6 whole for all that.
$6
And it's funny because you spent $6 to buy it and I spent almost $4 to rent it.
I know.
So who got the better deal there, Brian?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, because at some point we're gonna end up drunk in my living room and go, let's watch Gothic for no reason.
I think we probably will again. And it's not for no reason. It's for the art value of it.
Oh, yeah. The art. That's another thing I love about this movie. You can watch it like high-minded, like what are the themes? What's the art? What's it about? So is people working through their thing? And you can also just watch it like, this movie's really weird. This is fun. Let's watch how crazy and weird this movie is.
Yeah.
So I like movies like that.
By the way, just for the record, I did skip over in the synopsis the part where Claire's breasts have eyes.
I can't.
So I'm just going to leave that to the listeners to enjoy when that scene arrives.
What's hilarious about that is I paid attention this time. Julian Sands says that his biggest nightmare is breasts with eyes like 20 times in the movie. Like he's obsessed with breasts with eyes, and then they finally show up at the end, and it's so disturbing but also really silly all at the same time.
That reminded me of Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Actually, I could see that.
Yeah. That part.
It definitely, most of the film has a bit of the Rocky Horror vibe to it.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And again, going back to the way the film is shot and everything else. I really do enjoy the way Ken Russell makes movies. This he does these shots that I don't know anything about cinematography, #rail shot, but what I do know is that it looks, it is such a distinct way about it. And the sound cues that he was using with his music really, and again, if you go and watch my other favorite Ken Russell movie, which is Lair of the White Worm, the sound cues he uses in that are almost identical with music and everything else. So, yeah. But anyway.
We forgot to talk about Thomas Dolby.
The composer?
The composer, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to talk about him?
I mean, I remember his music. I remember, him being top 40 and... Didn't he? Please tell me I'm not imagining that.
I have no idea.
I think he was top 40. Hold on. Dolby is associated with the new wave movement of the early 80s, a form of pop music incorporating electronic instruments. But Dolby's work covers a wide range of musical styles and mood, distinct from the high-energy pop sound of his few better-known commercial successes. See, I can use Google too.
That was fast, Nick. I'm proud of you.
Ooh. I just remember She Blinded Me with Science.
That was him?
Yeah.
Oh.
Science.
You need to watch Gothic again. I need to listen to it again.
Yeah.
To hear the She Blinded Me with Science
Hyperactive.
influences. Yeah.
Remember Hyperactive?
No.
Oh, okay. I like his stuff. I remember it vaguely.
And again, I'm a youngin', so I wasn't around at that point.
And yeah, you can never listen to anything that was made before you were born. That's true.
Well, I mean, I could, but why would you? All the good stuff came out after I was born.
Wow.
So.
Okay.
Now everyone listening to your podcast hates me.
Well, they just think you're Lord Byron now.
Oh. The cut is deep.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think that's about it, guys.
Yeah.
Put some laudanum on it. It's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I did want to say the Nightmare.
Oh. Yeah.
Nick,
which Nightmare?
The Nightmare painting is known as a painting that depicts the succubus, which was a metaphor, or not a metaphor, but an explanation for sleep paralysis. So the succubus on the chest is the feeling of the pressure that comes with sleep paralysis and the frozenness. So that's what that painting is associated with.
Oh.
So. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
then.
and
Cool.
I think there's a line in there where it's like I couldn't move, I couldn't close my eyes.
Yeah.
And that's sleep paralysis.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
It's in Detroit, by the way. The painting.
Yeah, I love that painting. I think it's like probably one of my top paintings.
Wow.
Very pretty painting. Also, you look at that painting, look at the horse thing. Like, everyone focuses on the little demon on the chest, but there's like a weird demon horse to the far left of the frame.
Really?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now, see, I got to go back and look at that.
I know.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, and weren't those figures called clockwork?
That's what they were.
Yeah,
yes, they were clockwork figures. Okay. Thank you, Mary.
Yeah, that was driving me crazy. Because I was looking at those thinking that there's no way that back in the 1800s they had the ability to make a clockwork figure that good.
Well, that's because it was actually somebody in a suit doing that stuff, Mary, but that's beside the point. All right. Well, that's, like I said, I think we've wrapped up Gothic, and that is, what, number 8? In our countdown to 500.
7, 8. You're
Okay,
at
let's see. We
This
did
was
Candy
not
Stripe
93.
Nurses was 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Werewolf and the Yeti was 9.
Mm-hmm.
So Gothic is 8.
Yes.
Okay. Well, cool.
All right. And thank you very much for joining us, Brian. We really appreciate
Thank
it,
you
man.
guys for having me and letting me express controversial opinions about a movie that my liking may reflect more about me than it does about the movie.
Once again, going back to a Lord Byron comment.
Yeah. If you've seen Wretch, you're not surprised by that.
I was going to say, it'll just make everybody want to see your movie more.
Oh, that would be great. Wretch is no Gothic, though. I gotta admit. So, not enough nipples with eyes.
I don't think there were any nipples with eyes in it, Brian.
No.
And
No,
that
there
is an
weren't.
oversight that we must remedy at some point.
Yeah, we got called out on a bunch of reviews for our lack of nipples with eyes. So
that's true. Well, on that note,
Mary is not amused.
No, I
I like these episodes that just end with Mary just being like, okay, well, it's over. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
No, I wanted to, there's a little bit of feedback.
Oh, is there?
Just a little tiny bit.
Oh, okay.
Just one little letter and a voicemail.
Oh, well, let's do the feedback.
Okay, cool. First one's from Gary Jenny John. And it says, well, couldn't figure out the name of the movie. And then he said, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. According to IMDb, original title was Bud Abbott and Lou Costello Meet Frankenstein. And he says, it's Lou Costello writing a letter, and in the background is a werewolf played by Lon Chaney Jr., so it had to be one of the Abbott and Costello Meet movies. That's how he figured out what it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good call there, actually.
Yeah. Thought that through. And let's see. There is a voicemail from, I love this one. It is from Paul the Mailman.
Oh, yes, we finally got some Paul the Mailman.
Yeah, and he used his mom's phone. So I really think it's something with his phone for some reason just hangs up.
Huh.
That's why he can't leave a message on the answering machine on the, Freedom Voice Plate thing. But anyway, here he is.
Hey there, it's Paul, the soon-to-be totally retired ex-mailman here. Yeah, it's been a while. I tried to call in a few times, but there were some problems with the voicemail answering thing. So I'm going to give it another try. Right now, it's early March, and I am down here in Arizona taking care of Mom. She just had a little bout of tummy trouble, was in hospital for a little while, in rehab. Now she's back home recovering, so I'm here cooking up for her and getting her healthy once again. Beautiful day out here, about 65 degrees, and been catching up on my B-movie cast. Some comments about some of the things that you've been talking about lately. Dolomite, yeah, I watched that a couple months ago. Really, really fun film, especially Dolomite's dirty poetry. So that would definitely be a great B-movie cast episode. Love to hear you talk about that. Exterminating Angel, Buñuel, one of my favorites. I love all of his films. And that one particular, I first saw it when I was in college in Athens, Ohio. And I was part of the Film Society, and we would run films on Friday and Saturday nights. And
cool.
That was one of the movies that we ran. And with the movies, we would have these little leaflets that would get passed out for people that would contain some history, backstory, some interesting information about the movie. And I volunteered to write that one up, so I had to do the research. This was before Wikipedia. This was still in the late 70s, early 80s when this was happening, so you actually had to go to the library and look stuff up.
Oh, no.
So Exterminating Angel, love that movie. That would be another great film to talk about. Congratulations on House of Usher winning the Lovecraft Film Fest Award. As soon as that thing gets pressed onto a disc, I will be one of the first ones to snap it up. Really looking forward to it. I love Lovecraft in general, but Poe movies. I love Poe movies, so I am really, really looking forward to seeing this one. And, going back to Dolomite here just a second, talking about the different exploitation cinema. You're talking about stewardess exploitation. There was nunsploitation. The Nazi war camp, sex camp exploitation. There's, of course, black exploitation, and the kind of like an offshoot off of black exploitation was the black movie monster exploitation with Blackula and Blackenstein and stuff like that. So, yeah, all the various exploitations are a real gas to get into. Anyway, I'm done checking in. I'm doing okay, and I will be listening. I'm looking forward to Monster Bash. I've got my room set up for both the summer and the fall Monster Bash, so hopefully I'll see some people down there in Mars Cranberry Corners or whatever it's called down there in Pennsylvania in a few months. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye, Paul.
Oh, that is awesome that we got to get a message from Paul the mailman. We've been missing him.
I know.
Or Paul, the soon-to-be retired mailman, I guess.
Good for Paul. And thank you, Paul, for mentioning Usher. We will let you know when things exist. That is out of my hands right now, which is very nerve-wracking.
So great if you could have them by the Monster Bash.
I doubt that's going to happen, but it would be super cool. Oh, I will be coming to Monster Bash. I got my hotel room, so
cool.
Yay! I will bring the whiskey.
Oh no!
Well, just make sure you bring the laudanum, Mary. Bring the laudanum, Mary.
Why did you go Georgia Peach?
I know.
Well, okay, because my first real thing where I learned about what laudanum was the film Tombstone.
Yep.
And so Doc Holliday, I just had a little channeling Doc Holliday there.
Yeah.
I declare.
I do declare.
I'm your Huckleberry of laudanum.
What time period was that, Tombstone?
That was the late 1880s, I want to say.
Okay.
So, because remember, Wyatt Earp, the human, not just a movie character, he was a real dude, and he actually lived long enough to be a consultant on movies up until the about the mid 1920s.
That's true. Well, you know Dan up the hill.
Yeah.
Dan and Crystal Masterson. Yeah. His great uncle was Bat Masterson.
Wow. Mm-hmm. He just went up in my estimations by a lot.
Yeah. So then it wasn't all that long ago. It's just like his great uncle or something.
Okay.
I guess it would be. Because he was still alive at the turn of the century, the 1900s, too. Okay.
Well, on that note.
Yes. On that note.
The more you know.
The more we know, the less we care.
The more you know, the more you keep looking more stuff up.
And Mary, I shudder to imagine your search history.
Oh, you don't even want to know. You talk about rabbit holes. I can get down some rabbit holes for hours. What about
I believe that.
But what about this? That looks interesting. Laudanum.
Laudanum.
Once again, Mary, you're going to be on watch lists. You need to be careful.
True.
The laudanum watch list.
Hey, it's a growing thing. The war. Laudanum was the only success in the war on drugs. Hey, you don't see people doing it anymore, do you?
That's true.
Nancy Reagan scored. Wow. Okay.
No, see, again, my head just went down another rabbit hole gun when I wonder when it went away.
Right. Okay, we're getting done here. Really? Bye, guys.
Thanks for coming, Brian, and congratulations again.
Thank you. The next podcast there will be no movie. It's just talking about Locknum for 3 hours.
I'll see you soon, guys.
All right. Thank you, guys.
See you guys.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Adios, Mafia.
Well, they've gone.
For good, Joe?
No, just for now. It wasn't the right time for us to meet. But there'll be other nights, other stars for us to watch. They'll be back.
The ghosts are moving tonight, restless, hungry.
All right, fellas, here's your story.
Greetings, my friend. We are all interested in the future, for that is where you and I are going to spend the rest of our lives. And we cannot keep this a secret any longer.
Wait, Captain. I have found evidence of intelligent beings on this planet.
Look to the skies. It's the B-Movie Cookbook. Menus inspired by 15 of your favorite B-movies from the 1950s, with teenage werewolves, blobs, and enough cheese for everyone.
When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture.
But until then, we've got Ed Wood and Vincent Price.
There'll be food and drink and ghosts, and perhaps even a few murders. You're all invited.
So impress your friends with dinner and a movie with the B-Movie Cookbook. We've got you covered. Get your copy today at bmoviecookbook.com. That's bmoviecookbook.com.
Let me see that book. I am interested to see what sways your mind so heavily.
Sure thing. Just visit bmoviecookbook.com.
Anybody around here want some coffee?
Transmission.
The good guys always win, even in the 80s.